the one thing that does stink, and I really thought we were going to have it this week, and it's the first time that I'd looked deeply into it since the Super Bowl, of what the 49ers schedule is going to look like.
The schedule release is coming, they say, huh?
Yeah, the 15th. So next week is when everyone pretty much expects it to come out now. And there is an argument, Larry, that we were just talking about, that the way that these games come at you deeply affects your season. When is your bye week? How many really good teams are you playing in a row? Who's stacked on top of who? Who do you get after your bye?
To me, the big one, and it's the most undercovered element of a sport that's covered, over the top, is the Warren Sharp rest breakdown. I mean, that's where you're like getting to look on the other side of the curtain to see which teams the league is favoring and trying to push. Last year, they had Aaron Rodgers with the New York Jets. They had the Jets on Hard Knocks. They wanted badly for the Jets to make the playoffs. And then Rodgers goes down in week 1, but the Jets had a rest advantage. I believe, now maybe I'm wrong, you could look it up, but I believe they had a rest advantage in 13 of 17 games. And the Bears had a rest advantage in none of their 17 games. So, we see everything, right? They give us everything. And you turn on you go to ESPN.com, you go to the scoreboard, NFL week 1, you get both teams, you get the spread, you get their over-under, you get their records, which team's at home, which team's on the road. What there's a weather icon now that will tell you what the weather will be in Pittsburgh for the game on Sunday. You get everything except for the vital stat of rest advantage. And if you want to say, what was the game last year where the Niners looked the worst, where they just looked bad? It was the Bengal game. Well, guess what? If you had read the Warren Sharp article that I read going in the preseason about rest advantage and disadvantage, and he went week by week, you saw that the Bengals had a 13-day rest advantage.
Didn't the Browns come off a bye week too? Weren't the Browns coming off of a bye week?
I believe so, but I think it was more like 4 days of extra or 5 days of extra or whatever.
Right.
But you had 13 days of extra for, like, the Niners had played the week before on the road, traveled home, and we're on a short week.
Right.
And you had the Bengals off of a bye week where they had played on a Thursday, I think. They rolled in with 13 extra days of rest advantage, and it showed.
Yep.
It absolutely showed that day. So to me, this is the one thing I wish the NFL, when they, ask yourself this: did you bet on the NFL at all last year? And if you did you check the rest advantage or disadvantage for your teams in that game? And I would say most NFL fans never, ever look at the rest advantage.
I think it's one of those topics that people just don't consider. And
it's massively important.
Yes. Here's the thing, though. Rest advantages, disadvantages, how these teams are all stacked on top of each other. Where's your bye week? Of course, all of that stuff matters, but I don't think any of it trumps the fact that no matter what it looks like, no matter how it rolls out, Larry, the 49ers schedule is going to be absolutely savage. I mean, a great nobody got hurt 49ers team at best is looking at 12 wins against this schedule, I would think, right now. It is fucking savage.
They get Green Bay, Detroit, Kansas City, Philly. Do they get Philly?
No. But there are 8 teams that reached the playoffs last year on the schedule.
There's variable teams, that could be good or bad, because teams do, get better and get worse.
True.
But to me, the two factors that I'm looking for, they've got non-division road games against Buffalo, Green Bay, Miami, and Tampa. If they get Buffalo and Green Bay after Thanksgiving, if they get Miami and Tampa in September, then the schedule's brutal.
Right.
Now, if you can flip it and you can get Buffalo and Green Bay before Thanksgiving, and Tampa and Miami after September when the oppressive weather, moves on by. Then, like the Niners played in Jacksonville this year. The weather was perfect, but if they had played that game in week 1, that's a major advantage for the Jaguars.
Yeah, could be a big muggy mess. Look,
Florida, if you've ever been in Florida in the summer or in September, you know what I'm talking about. It's like we're talking about guys cramping up in the fourth quarter, all kinds of, you need your depth. You're traveling from west to east. It becomes a very difficult game to win.
So they got the team that beat them in the Super Bowl on their schedule. They got the team that they beat in the NFC title game on their schedule. They're going to play 6 division winners. They're going to play 8 teams that were in the playoffs last year. They've got the Bears on the schedule, who have the makings of a tougher out than they were last season. And there's a chance that they could play overseas,
which could be a major advantage because that would be a Vikings Niners game, most likely, according to the rumors, and that the Vikings would be the home team, yet it would be in London where the Niners would probably commandeer 85% of the crowd. So
easily.
Yeah. So, you're talking about like kind of what they had in Mexico City when they played the Cardinals and there was the Cardinal home game. That's almost like another Niner home game.
Well, how about this? There are very few NFL stadiums where the 49ers don't have 80% of the crowd sitting in there, but Minnesota is not one of those places. They are very, very diehard about holding on to their tickets in Minnesota. They love their stadium. They love their Vikings. The home schedule will, of course, have the Cardinals, Rams, and Seahawks, but the Bears, the Lions, the Jets, the Patriots, the Chiefs, and the Dallas Cowboys are all coming to Santa Clara. On the road, it'll be all your division opponents: Packers, Vikings, Dolphins, Bills, Buccaneers. And
can you say that? Can you say that home, the non-division home games again?
Yes, in no particular order because we don't know the order yet. Bears, Lions, Jets, Patriots, Chiefs, Cowboys.
That Chiefs game, that's a vital game too. It's like at some point, and I think that point is this next game. The Niners got to show they can beat the Chiefs.
You got to beat the Kansas City Chiefs, yeah.
You got to show that you can beat the Chiefs before you can, and that's going to be a major emotional game from the standpoint of if they lose that game again, there'll always be this belief where if you get into the Super Bowl with Kansas City, you don't have a shot. If you get a win over them, at least if you did play them in the Super Bowl, there's the potential, the doubt that creeps into their mind of, they're going to take confidence into that game no matter what. But if you beat them in the regular season, at least there's some doubt.
Yeah. It would be insane in any scenario as we know it right now to favor the 49ers over the Kansas City Chiefs in their next Super Bowl, should they ever meet in another Super Bowl. That's just the way it goes. But
if it's not the Kansas, Kansas City's, have been there so often that you wonder if maybe it won't be their year this year. It's in New Orleans. The last time the Super Bowl was in New Orleans, we were there. Or I'm not sure if it was the last time it was in New Orleans. Last time the Niners played a Super Bowl in New Orleans, we were there.
We were there.
How great would it be? Niners Ravens rematch in New Orleans.